At City Hall last week, what was expected to be a contentious debate over tightening Chicago's teen curfew rules ended in a potential compromise that would give police more power to do it themselves. The temporary curfews for unaccompanied minors could be imposed anywhere in the city. Teens would have 30 minutes to leave an area if it was identified by CPD. The debate over new restrictions comes after recent gatherings downtown turned violent.
Under this ordinance, the superintendent could say, we have a situation developing here, it's 5 p.m., we're declaring a curfew for unaccompanied minors at that location. So it gives them the needed flexibility that they can respond to these events when they happen, where they happen, no matter the time and no matter the neighborhood.
If we're not creating spaces for people to do things that are productive, this is going to continue, and whether you impose a curfew or not, it's not going to solve the issue.
Mayor Brandon Johnson hasn't committed to supporting the new proposal. Instead, he says the conversation with stakeholders will continue.
Can't just divert the issue somewhere else. That's not who we are as a city. You know, we're a committed city to making sure that every single neighborhood is safe. As far as this particular, proposal, it's why we have not made any declarative decision. Look, we started off with just a curfew. Now the conversation has evolved into something else, because that's what democracy requires in this moment.
The mayor's affordable housing plan also hit a snag, failing again to pass through committee. Johnson is pushing to create a city-owned nonprofit developer that would build affordable, environmentally sustainable housing in targeted areas. So far, many council members remain skeptical. Chicago's newest alderman from the 35th Ward, Anthony Quezada, joins me this morning in our WGN studios. Alderman, good to see you. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, Paul,
on your appointment. So you're the youngest member of the city council, but quite the resume behind you. You've been a community organizer, 35th Ward Committee, most recently Cook County Commissioner for the 8th District. So add it all together, it would suggest you have your pulse both on the youth sense of things, but also on all the issues you're facing. So talk about how you plan to look at critical issues that will arise relying on your life experience thus far.
Well, thank you so much for having me on today's show. I really appreciate it. I'm so excited to serve as the next 35th Ward Alderman. I was born and raised in Logan Square. I'm a Logan Square native. And the 35th Ward represents the neighborhoods of Logan Square, Avondale, Irving Park, and Hermosa. I've spent a lot of my time in community organizing and in public service, which means I've always made decisions collectively. I've always made them with my community, for my community. And so that's how I seek to plan to tackle the issues that the city is facing in my role as alderman. And that's the kind of leadership style I enacted when I was a Cook County Commissioner, when I was the 35th Ward Democratic Committeeman, when I served the 35th Ward as the Neighborhood Services Director for Alderman Rosa for 6.5 years, and as a community organizer with United Neighbors of the 35th Ward.
Yeah, you are on there replacing Carlos Ramirez Rosa, who went on, of course, to the Park District. Look, let's be honest, you did not get a unanimous vote. 11 alders were not on board with the appointment. You said afterwards that the vote was, you didn't take it personally, you said it was a matter of principle for those aldermen. So, first of all, what did you mean by that? And secondly, how will you work to build bridges with those aldermen who did not support your joining City Council?
Absolutely. So, I think a lot of my colleagues made it very clear during that City Council meeting that they were upset, that they were insulted by a social media post that came out a couple years ago that I addressed then, and then I addressed again when I announced my intent to serve as the 35th Ward Alderman, in which a racial slur was used when talking with some friends, something that I deeply regret, something that I apologize for in public, but also in private with members of the Black Caucus. But my colleagues told me, this is a word that has a lot of meaning, that has a lot of negative implications, and on principle, they couldn't support someone who was on record saying that. So that's why I understand that. I understand the harmful language that can divide our communities, that can hurt our communities, that can open wounds. And again, I do not take it personally. I've had amicable and very respectful conversations with all of the aldermen of the City Council. And the way that I've worked as a county commissioner and as a community organizer is by someone who convenes people, someone who builds bridges, who is a coalition builder, and who solves problems through dialogue and through meaningful dialogue, rather than just accusations or empty platitudes. I work to build trust with my colleagues.
Well, and you were the pick of former Alderman Ramirez Rosa, so I understand that. But many said there wasn't even really a contest here, that the mayor who had the power to choose, there were other candidates, they all went where you, kind of in the bag. My question is, how much of a certain ally are you to the mayor as opposed to being an independent actor as well as thinker?
Well, you know, the process that the mayor went through is the process that previous mayors have gone through. That's the legal authority that they have when there is a vacancy in the council. They have the power to make a recommendation. The city council approves of it. You know, most recently what they've done is they've created civic committees of residents or leaders within that given ward where the vacancy has taken place, where they vet candidates and they interview candidates. I went through that process. We also had a community-led engagement process with our community-based organization, United Neighbors, the 35th Ward. We had a meeting with over 150 residents. And at that meeting, there were 3 candidates who presented themselves. I earned the supermajority of support from residents at that meeting with 86% of the vote. So that shows that I have the support of my community. And of the 35th Ward, vacancy committee, and I'm very proud to have earned that support. And look, the way that I've always led as a organizer and as a political leader is by representing the values of my community. I lead with what my community needs and what they want. So I always engage in democratic processes, and that's how I intend to lead as 35th Ward.
If it means going against the mayor, it means going against the mayor.
Well, look, we all have to work together. I think that's the biggest part. I don't really view this as binary, as fighting somebody or being against somebody, but we have to make sure that we're working together. And look, I'll say, the mayor has been a great friend, a great ally, someone that I've worked with when he was a commissioner, someone that I worked with when he was, an organizer with the Chicago Teachers Union. I believe our mayor has our best interests as a city at heart, and I plan to work with him to make sure that we're pushing forward a progressive vision.
Well, you heard me leading into this. The mayor's Green Social Housing Initiative so far failed to make it out of committee after 3 meetings. Do you support the plan? Would you vote for it?
Yes, absolutely.
And how would it impact your ward?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's a lot of support. There's broad support among my colleagues, even folks who said we need a little bit more time. They're not against this. They would just want to make sure we are doing our due diligence because we're moving a lot of money. And look, we have an affordability and a housing crisis in the city of Chicago. We need to be building more units of housing that actually meet the needs of poor and working class people while addressing and ensuring that we are making developments without displacing people in our communities. This is a bold plan that's going to do that, right? We want to make sure that we have 30% affordability in these developments. We want to have market rate for the rest of them, but we also want to target communities that have faced, historic levels of gentrification or displacement. So, I would welcome, these kind of developments in my ward, and I know we need to make sure that we see those kinds of developments in the west, the south, and north sides of the city of Chicago.
Teen curfews, an issue recently. Obviously, this compromise that Alderman Hopkins talks about, the notion of giving police declare these sort of snap curfews. Where do you stand on that?
I think preventative measures are always better. They're much more stronger and potent than reactive measures. And I think we really need to make sure that we're looking at proactive youth programming for youth. We also need to make sure that when there are large gatherings, that we're not just using the police in these incidents. We need to make sure that we have peacekeepers, which have been shown through data and through interventions in our communities throughout the city of Chicago that reduce levels of violence or any interactions of that nature. So I think we need to make sure that we're looking at the laws that need to be implemented as they are today. We also need to make sure that we are engaging youth in their communities and making sure that there are opportunities, and then also ensuring that when we are using the police, that we're not instigating more instances of possible violence or violating people's rights. And so I look forward to the conversation that we have, but I want to make sure that we have all stakeholders at the table.
All right, very quickly, ShotSpotter, similar kinds of mechanisms. You support them?
What kind of
ShotSpotter? Something like that.
I think we saw through specific reports that this data has been faulty. We want to make sure that if we're implementing any technology, that it is data proven, that we're keeping our community safe. But I think we also need to be honest. We need to be investing real money into jobs, into housing, into our schools, and not just reactive measures.
All right, less than a minute left. But you've seen City Council basically blow through the budget numbers regarding settling lawsuits. Do you have a position on approving settlement recommendations going forward, given the fact that the budget's already been spent?
Yeah, our settlements are going through the roof, and I know that my colleagues are really upset about how much money we're spending. I think we really need to look at the issue holistically. I think we need to have a realistic understanding of what it's going to take to have the reforms needed to make sure that we're decreasing those settlements.
About 20 seconds left. You live in a ward with over 50% Latino population. Any ICE concerns in terms of presence or action?
We have been mobilizing a rapid response deportation defense network over the past couple months. We have over 150 volunteers that are on the ground monitoring ICE that are in our communities, and we're also making sure that our neighborhoods know about their rights and their constitutional rights. So I will continue doing that as alderman.
All right, new 35th Ward Alderman Anthony Quesada. Thank you so much. Congratulations again.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for your first appearance. We're going to get you back.